background noise as well as feedback will make it harder for people to hear as we move forward. So if I could ask people to kind of mute their phones, that would be helpful. Chairwoman, you have a quorum to begin.
This meeting is being recorded and/or transcribed.
Chairwoman Engel, you have a quorum to begin, and it looks like we have about 5 people, 5 participants from the public on the line. Can you hear me?
Tom, it looks like Sylvia's microphone is muted.
I have not muted her phone.
She might have.
She muted herself. I can't unmute her. She can unmute herself from her phone and begin talking. Chairwoman, are you trying to speak? Commissioners, Chairwoman Engel is going to call in. Her laptop's not allowing her to use the speaker. Chairwoman Engel, have you joined us?
You want me to call her line?
No, I spoke to her when I was on mute. She said
This is Commissioner Engel.
Okay, Commissioner Engel, good afternoon.
On audio.
Good afternoon. You have a quorum of commissioners, and you have about 10 participants that look like from the public on the line as well. So you may begin the meeting.
All right. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
which it
stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Commissioner, I'll just advise people who are joining us, that have called in, that if you're not speaking, if you can mute yourselves, because the background noise and feedback will make it harder for people to hear others on the meeting.
All right, we'll proceed. This is an emergency meeting of the Board of Elections to discuss an emergent and important matter that has arisen, and a delay of the meeting for the purpose of providing adequate notice would likely result in substantial harm to the public interest. For those attending today's meeting, please be aware that all board meetings are recorded via audio. We'll have a roll call.
Chairman Engel,
Present.
Commissioner Frankel,
Present.
Commissioner Katz,
President,
Commissioner Moskowitz.
Present.
No old business. We'll proceed with new business. Discussion regarding New Brunswick polling location.
Thank you,
We'll go-
Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Steve Nyers has joined me, but I'll kind of kick it off, and if he wants to add anything, he can certainly unmute himself and join in. So, Commissioners, you had asked us at the last board meeting to go back to the clerk and see if there were additional polling locations that could be used for the April 21st election, as well as just determining the availability of the other ones that have been used in previous elections. In terms of our discussion with the clerk on Monday, she said that she would reach out to locations and see their availability, and then came back to us in terms of that availability and communicated that to our warehouse staff to go and inspect. And again, in terms of what's on my computer and what I've shared with you is 2 locations, the Roosevelt School, which would be Ward 4, District 1, as well as the Robeson and Schwartz Community Center, Ward 4, District 2, as additional polling locations the clerk was able to confirm. Again, just reiterating, the clerk and staff thinks that Robeson and Schwartz is on the smaller side of a polling location for social distancing, but the clerk was willing to set aside those concerns if the commissioners thought the greater value was in using it as a polling location. And so those are the ones that are before you. In the document I submitted last night was the availability of the other 4 locations, but before you are 10 polling locations and the ward and districts that were assigned to each.
Can we hear from the warehouse supervisor next?
I'll just pretty much reiterate everything that that Tom said. He pretty much covered everything as far as that basis, and his report that he did post to and send to you guys is exactly on point with everything.
All right. We'll now proceed to commissioner comments.
yeah, I'll talk. At least 2 of these polling locations, Steve, were said that they're too small for social distancing, unable to secure larger locations. 60 days from now, we have a primary election with 200 some odd locations. Are all of these locations going to be open in the primary? And if not, then I have in the other towns, et cetera, are we being told by any of these people that they're not available or they're too small and they're going to change them? It's too late, kind of get late to change everything. I mean, it's being handled differently than the primary in some way, and why?
It's not being handled differently in the primary. We didn't even get to the primary yet. We have a conference call on Tuesday about that. We're gonna have to take it
on Friday. I'm sorry, Steve. Yes, you're correct in that in terms of the clerks, but we have kind of a state call to kind of go over some of these logistical issues with polling locations and other things on Friday. I'm sorry, Steve, I jumped in there.
Yeah, that's with the state, the one on Friday. The one with the one I'm more concerned with, and the one that I really want to hear from is our clerks themselves, because I do believe that there's going to be issues. I just got off the phone with a little earlier with Patty from Monroe, and there are going to be places, private especially, that we cannot get into. They do not want us, and we cannot force our way in. So we are going to have major issues as far as that's concerned. So this is no different, absolutely not, than what we are going to experience countywide. So what you were doing here today is just going to keep stepping forward. I can't promise you that I can get in every place, even when it comes to the primary as well, because we have to literally go clerk by clerk. So if this is a continual issue, it's going to remain a continual issue going right into the primary. There is no way we can open every place. That is not going to be possible because we're not going to be allowed in, for starters. Availability on some of them too. we won't know anything until I think I'll have a better gist of after we have the conference call with the clerks on Tuesday. Maybe the state will give us some guidelines. They have not yet. Hopefully they do. I know what the governor said, but that's not going to be possible when we're not allowed in certain places to start. So, until that happens, I can't give any answers to that. I can only tell you what's happening right now in New Brunswick. And this issue at hand needs to be solved because we are 13 days away from the election.
So just to be clear, what you're telling us is that what's being proposed in New Brunswick is essentially not going to be any different from what we are going to be faced with for the June primary, and maybe in multiple towns in multiple districts.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'm finished speaking at the moment.
All right. Any other commissioner comments?
No.
All right, we'll open this to the public now for 2 minutes minimum, and try not to repeat the same issue over and over. Open to the public at this point.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Identify yourself before you speak.
Yes, if you identify yourself, the municipality you reside, and we'll try and do it in an orderly fashion.
I guess I'll go. This is Charlie Cradaville from New Brunswick. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes, Charlie.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mr. Lynch. Pleased to see 2 polling places restored, but very deeply disturbed and disappointed about the 4 that are not. Can anyone provide answers as to why the Senior Center and the Rutgers Labor Education Center are not available? I understand the privately owned ones are, privately owned, but Rutgers University, surely the Board of Elections has a direct line to Rutgers University for any number of reasons. Did anybody speak with them? Did the clerk pass along any reason why the Labor Education Center was not going to be used? As you remember, this is one of the most impacting decisions for the folks in Tove Manor who would have to walk 2 miles over and under multiple highways to get to their polling location. And as discussed at the last meeting and verified on the New Brunswick City website, the Senior Citizen Resource Center is closed. So I don't understand why somebody couldn't come there and open it up to use it as a polling place if there's nothing going on there. Can anybody provide any insider information as to why those 2 public buildings are not going to be utilized for this election?
Mr. Crowder, you have a couple seconds left. Do you want to hold the questions till the end, or do you want to continue to make a statement?
Thanks. That's the total sum of my thoughts on this, but I would like to get answers. Thank you.
I get to speak to both. The Senior Center, while closed to the public, the municipal clerk indicated that multiple public services are being run out of that location at the moment regarding Meals on Wheels, things related to COVID, and other municipal services provided to the public, and that it would be a detrimental effect to the public services if that location was used at this time. Because again, they were anticipating being a polling location when they were planning this out, and they indicated that moving it at this point would be detrimental to the public services provided. And again, yes, and that and again that would be, and again within Title 19, that would be an allowable reason, rationale for a location. And then Rutgers was not, and again, the clerk in terms of outreach was unable to confirm the availability of the building itself, or the room that we have used, or the ability to use a larger room for that facility.
That is a shame. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, I guess I could be next. I'm Linda Stork. I live in New Brunswick, and
Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. I usually vote at the senior center, and don't they usually run the Meals on Wheels the voting part is in the back. It has a separate entrance, and it's quite spacious. I would say probably almost every, maybe not in a general election, but every other time I've been there, we're socially distant without even trying. You know what I mean? It's just not that crowded. So, yeah, are the programs actually being run out of the space in the back that's usually used for a polling place?
Yes, Steve, you can confirm that the clerk confirmed that room and that space is being utilized for both storage and for services being run out of that room.
Yes, that is correct. And so at that point, there is no availability. It's not about what we do normally. We asked if we can use it, and she checked into it and said they are actually using it themselves, and that it would not be available for that day. And that's it. I can't push any further than that. I can't try to rationalize things either, because when they say it's being used, we don't ask questions after that.
Right, but if it's a city building and we need to hold an election, for example, if it's being used for storage, you could move the things, use the city workers to move the things into a different room for a day. That wouldn't usually. Okay. I have another question about the Labor Ed Center. When you say unable to confirm, was she able to, in fact, talk with somebody at Rutgers, or just didn't get an answer?
I'm not sure about that. I just know you would have to ask her individually. We reached out, and she did the best she could with the limited time that she had. But we can't keep pressing this and keep pushing this. We are 13 days away from the election. We have printing that needs to be finished, poll books, and sample ballots and all these different things that have to go out now. We don't have time anymore. We ran out of time.
Okay.
Best we can do.
Thank you, Steve. Ms. Stork, your time has elapsed. Chairwoman, would you like to recognize another individual?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. If then the next person can identify themselves, please. Okay, thank you, Chairwoman.
I have another question. Steve, two of these locations, the reference is previous polling area was small for social distancing, unable to secure a larger area for venue. Did we actually inspect all of these places now, including the ones that are say they're too small?
Can you ask me which ones? The only two that we put up are the two that we inspected. The other ones we could not get into at all. We could not line up an inspection. We legitimately ran out of time, and I didn't push to inspect the senior center when she told me that things that they were currently running things out of there and using it. I can't push that issue.
There are two of the things are noted. The Hungarian Center and the Rutgers Labor Education Center say previously polling area was small for social distancing, unable to secure a larger area or venue. Have we checked that they are indeed too small for social distancing?
Where they normally vote, absolutely. I could tell you that just by knowing the location myself.
Okay.
But I have not been able to. We did not have any contact with the Hungarian Heritage Center, so that we could not inspect it. And the same thing with Rutgers Labor Ed, whether we could use a bigger room in there or not. We did not get a hold of anybody.
Right. So you've actually, from prior inspections, this in terms of the size and the capacity in terms of social distancing. That was my
correct. But again, Hungarian Heritage, I could not inspect, so therefore I can't put it on the list as far as one that we can use or not use. Right. I could not get in there at all. I could not reach anybody. So, fortunately, those two I couldn't do anything.
Hungarian Center was a location that we used for a general election and primary in general. Is that a normal public location?
A normal location, yes, just not last year, obviously.
Okay, but from your knowledge of the prior inspections, the size of the current the size in the Hungarian Center is too small for social distancing without inspecting it again?
It's a little tight, as far as getting in and out of the building, because that's also an issue. The situation isn't just the room itself, it's also, are we walking down narrow hallways? Are we, that's also kind of something we have to take into effect. I would need, but Don, for me to comment on that would be premature because I did not see it this time around, and we did not inspect it for COVID we didn't inspect it for COVID last year.
We didn't
So
know.
I would like to see it first before I make that comment on that one. Rutgers Labor Ed, I'm very familiar with because I do go there for shop steward meetings. So I can comment on that one. And I know currently the hallway that we use or the foyer, way too small. But I was looking to ask for something bigger inside so that we can use it. Unfortunately, we did not get a hold of anybody. And then we ran out of time. And that's the big problem here is we just ran out of time.
Okay.
Believe me, it wasn't for the lack of trying. We were trying, but they just never got back.
Hello, can you hear me?
This is Commissioner Moskowitz. May I make a comment, please?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner.
Hello, can you
Thank
hear
you.
me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I'm sorry, but I thought I was muted, so I didn't open my mouth for the public meeting.
I'm sorry.
But I'd like to make a comment.
Well, I'm sorry, we have, and again, I defer to the chairwoman, Commissioner Moskowitz had the floor for a question.
Sure.
It was just, thank you, Chairwoman. It's a brief comment, which is, Commissioner, I hope we all remember these are unusual circumstances. And I appreciate Steve's very clear comments about his own personal information. And we should not be questioning past years, understanding that decisions have to be made based on new specifications that are given to us every day because of the health issue. Thank you very much.
And Chairwoman, it would be up to you whether you wanted to entertain further comments from the public at this time.
Yes, we'll entertain some more speakers.
Okay, ma'am, who was speaking before? If you get identified.
So interrupted?
Yeah.
I apologize. Marge Kerber, and I live in New Brunswick, 2 Comstock Street. Now, I can understand the reasons why these centers are not open, but we're not making any accommodations for voters, like, for instance, busing them over to the new polling places. I think this is great. We have a right under the law to vote. And I understand the circumstances, but the corridors are too small. You can't be 5 feet apart. I'm sorry. I'm just getting very upset about it because now I'm hearing about the primary might be a problem too. And I think this is a little bit crazy. It really is. I mean, you can always make accommodations to be 5 feet apart. I'm sorry that you can do that. You can make accommodations to move the things in the senior center. But, obviously the city of New Brunswick would rather suppress voters than to do what they need to do. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But I've got to make some phone calls, like to my senators. Thank you.
Okay. Ma'am, I will say that the county clerk has extended their office hours for the week prior to the election to allow people to request, fill out, and submit.
Right, but do they know that they can? Do they know that they can do this? I mean, people don't know this. This is the problem.
Well, I mean, we hope to convey that through and again, information is provided to the municipal clerk as well as the school board to post.
Still voter suppression. I'm just surprised the Democrats are doing this.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, I can respect that. Thank you both. Thank you, ma'am. Come on.
Any further speakers?
So may I ask you a question then, I guess to all the commissioners, then it appears that we've added through the work of our administrator and warehouse supervisor 2 more locations for a total of 10. Would that be correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
So would it be proper then
Yes,
to,
10.
if I make a motion, proper to make with all the work that's done and knowing that we're 13 days before the primary, that I make a motion that we approve these 10 locations for the city of New Brunswick for the Board of Education election.
Well, I'd like to hear
on the table. Is there a second?
Right.
Chairwoman, Commissioner Frankel has made a motion. Is there?
Yeah, but I already said I'd like to hear from another,
Oh, I thought we were
couple of,
done. I'm
speakers.
sorry, I thought we were done. I apologize. If there's more public,
That's
that's
okay.
fine.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Chairwoman, we did go back to that individual who spoke. I don't know if there are any other, public comments. If there are, I certainly we, through the chair, allow it.
Sure.
But there is a motion on the table. I don't see any.
Are we done with or should we make a motion to close the public, make a motion maybe to close the public comment? I don't know if anybody else wants to speak. That's what I don't know.
Well, usually Robert rules and Commissioner Katz can correct me. Once there's a motion on the table, then you can't, you usually don't allow public comment after that.
Right, okay.
All right, Dan, make a motion to close public comment.
Make a motion to close public comment?
Yeah.
Second?
Well, I'm sorry, I have to make a motion to take, let me rephrase that. I understand what administrator is talking about. I made a motion out of line. I'd like to take that motion off. I'd like to make a motion to take the motion that I made off the table, so I can make a motion to close the public portion. Is that okay?
I think that's fine. I don't think we need a motion to close public comment. If everyone has spoken already, we can proceed to.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're doing it properly, that's all.
Yeah.
Only if we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Commissioner Katz, if we all agree, yes, then we can move forward with that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I go back to our motion to approve through the work of our administrator, our warehouse supervisor, and the city clerk, the 10 locations, the 2 more additional with the 8 that we talked about previously, for a total of 10, only for this New Brunswick Board of Education election on April 20th.
I'll second that motion.
Motion to accept these 2 additional polling places, but at the same time, look for more?
Before we vote on the motion, I'd like to speak on it.
Okay.
I'm not happy, but, because it's always looking to keep it in place as much as possible. But based on the representations that this is not a unique problem solely for this school board election, and we're still going to have ongoing problems and similar problems in the primary election, to the extent that New Brunswick is not being singled out for these purposes, and based on what we've been told in terms of social distancing, et cetera, I'm going to end up voting. I'm going to be voting for this motion.
My comment is there a possibility that we could continue to look for more locations as well as approve these 2? Is that a possibility, Administrator Tom?
I'm gonna lean on staff, Linda and Steve, but I'm gonna say no, and then I'll ask staff to confirm that. It's just, we run into issues in terms of the poll books. The printer for the poll books is kind of given us a deadline of close the business today to submit files for poll books as well as ATVs, and the need to kind of recruit the additional poll workers and train them for that time. So we're kind of, as Steve said earlier, we're out of time.
Okay, may I then ask, Madam Chair, that what we could do, however, is to take Commissioner Katz's words with the realization that this will not be the last time, to alert the clerks ahead of time to do this review and send us the notifications as soon as possible for the future. That way we would have an ongoing review.
Yes, Commissioner, that's acceptable.
Okay.
We absolutely must know as soon as possible what our problems are going to be for the primary.
Right. That's your words rang true, Commissioner. That's why I supported that comment.
Yeah.
That's
All
not
right,
me.
let's proceed with the vote then.
Okay. And Chairwoman, would you like a roll call?
Yes, roll call on the vote. On the vote to accept the 2 new locations in addition to the other 8.
Okay, Chairman Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Frankel,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Moskowitz.
Yes.
Before we adjourn, I just want to make sure that the commissioners should know as soon as possible, once you talk to the various municipal clerks, so we get an idea of what the problem is and how we're going to try to fix it for the primary, or how we're going to handle it for the primary, because these are, at least on the Republican side, there's a different ballot face for each of our election districts. So we cannot necessarily combine. I don't know if the machines can be programmed so we can do more than one election district on the machine and in time to do that, because that's a possibility if that's permitted. If it's not permitted, we have another problem, because if we're still going to have to combine polling locations, we may have to put more machines in them, and that may be an issue. So that's one of the things that has to be looked at as soon as possible.
Commissioner, I can answer that, and Steve can confirm the voting machines are able to do that. And again, our conversations will be based on the state call on Friday, as well as our municipal call next week, to kind of get a better feel for where we might have some trouble spots.
I knew that eventually we could do that, because we had talked about that in connection with early voting, but I wasn't sure that we had the capacity right at this point to do it. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Tom, you'll keep us informed, right, next week?
Yes, based on that, and then we'll fine tune it and make sure we get back to you in terms of where we are. A work in progress as it was last year.
Any further comments before we adjourn? There being none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman Engel,
Yes, to adjourn.
Commissioner Frankel,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Moskowitz.
Yes.
Thank you all.